Hi, I'm Mark Forrest with the EAA SportAir Workshops. On this tip, we like to talk about mass-producing parts. A lot of times when you're building a scratch-built airplane or a plans-built airplane, you're actually the manufacturer. You have to produce a number of parts to build the aircraft. And that can be somewhat tedious. For example, if you're building nose ribs on an aluminum airplane, and this also could be applied to a wood aircraft as well, a lot of times what you'll do is take from the plans a copy of the plans and then use spray adhesive to spray it on a piece of wood to make a template. From that template, typically what you would then do is use this to mark out on the sheet of aluminum or sheet of wood or whatever material you're building from the part that you need, and then you cut that part out, either with some snips or a bandsaw or something like that. You can imagine making 30 or 40 of these and how tedious and time-consuming that would be. Well, here's another way to do it without taking so much time. What you do is you take your pattern or your drawing, and again, using spray adhesive, you can attach it to a block of wood. In this case, this particular material is what's called MDF, medium density fiber wood, which is a very fine, very dense particle board type material. Works really well for making patterns and templates and temporary fixtures and jigs and tools for building an airplane. You can see that I've used spray adhesive to put the copy of the plan sheet onto the piece of wood, and I've cut it out in the outline. This is now my template that I'll be using to cut out the part. The next step is to take a piece of aluminum, and again, this could be wood as well, and we've punched 2 index holes in the aluminum, and what this does is position it and keeps it in the proper position on the piece of wood. The piece of wood is drilled, and bolts are installed to hold everything together. So what we do is we take 2 1/4-inch carriage-style bolts, we install the piece of aluminum and make somewhat of a sandwich with 2 pieces of wood cut out in the area of the template. And I'm actually going to flip this around a little bit because I had it cut a little bit differently here. So let me do that real quick. There we go. And these are simple tools and techniques, nothing hard or difficult about it. It's not a $1,000 tool. It's about $10 worth of parts, even less than that from your hardware store. I'm using some nuts, some thumb nuts to hold everything together. Now I've created a sandwich which consists of 2 pieces of wood holding the piece of aluminum, the material that we're going to be cutting, in between those 2 pieces. The bolts are holding everything together, and they're also keeping the aluminum from moving in this sandwich. The next thing we do is cut it out. And how do we do that? One of the most versatile tools in your workshop is a router. Now, traditionally, people think of routers for cutting pieces of wood and plastic and things like that. You can also use a router to cut aluminum as well. In this particular case, we have the router set up with a carbide cutting bit, and this is called a laminate trim bit. It's a straight shank bit with a little ball bearing roller on the top, which follows the outline of the piece of wood. And what we're going to do is use this and the router bit to cut the part out. Be very, very careful anytime you're using any sort of power tool, especially a router. It can be a very dangerous piece of equipment if used improperly. You'll also want to make sure that you use safety goggles, not necessarily safety glasses, for this sort of operation. And the reason why is aluminum chips tend to fly all over the place. And if you have an open pair of safety glasses, sometimes they can get behind the safety glasses. So we're going to put our goggles on. Next step is we're going to fire up the router and then use the trimming bit to cut out the part that we've installed in this sandwich of between the forms. So we turn this on. And you can see the router has effortlessly cut this piece of aluminum in between the sandwich of the form blocks. Now we'll take this apart. As you can see, as we remove the form block, we now have a piece of material that's identical to the template of the form block. And you can see how quickly and easily it was to cut this shape out. It will need a bit of edge treatment, a little bit of sandpaper or filing to smooth off the edges, but a tremendous time saver, and each part is identical from one part to the next in terms of reproducing, mass-producing parts. That's another great tip that you can use when you're scratch building an airplane, be it aluminum, a sheet metal airplane like this part here, or even a wood aircraft as well.